Welcome to Dream Chaser Radio.
Whatever goes around comes around. Every lifetime is a lesson. This is what I find. No matter who you are, gonna have your ups and downs. Whatever
You are constantly faced with the din of noise from the outside, scrutiny and pressure. How, when everybody is coming at you, do you keep your head and perform at the level you do?
Listen, for me, I can't worry about what everybody say about me. I'm LeBron James from Akron, Ohio, from the inner city. I'm not even supposed to be here. That's enough. Every night I walk into the locker room, I see a number 6 with James on the back. I'm blessed. So what everybody say about me off the court don't matter. I ain't got no worries.
Congratulations.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. It's another episode of the world famous Dream Chasers show, and I am your host, Will Lane. May I add 1 year anniversary episode of the world famous Dream Chasers show. We're doing it for 1 year. Glad to still be here, grinding it out. It's a 5-year commitment. I think I talked about that before. It's a 5-year commitment, so you guys can plan on hearing from me for the next 4 years minimum. We're going to do this. Shout out to LeBron James for winning the second title of his career, second championship. Call him 2 James. But nah, that's what's up. Oh man, since the last time we talked, lots been going on. Yeah, I got a chance to visit Chicago for the first time. I think I'm the only person that hasn't been to Chicago left. When I arrived at the airport, they told me, yeah, you're the last person to get here. So, had a phenomenal time up there, man. Great food Chicago has. Oh man, and you know that's my thing. You know I love eating great food, but I mean, I don't even think a restaurant can stay open in Chicago if it's not any good. I don't think they let garbage restaurants stay open in Chicago. I mean, everywhere we went to was just like crazy, man. So, great time in Chicago. Had an opportunity to do their architectural tour, which is I won't call it a cruise, but it's a boat on the Chicago River. And we did it at nighttime, right? So you know that like the breeze, it was warm, one of those warm summer nights, and the breeze was kind of working. And you know, as you're going through the skyline, oh man, it was crazy. Crazy. Phenomenal time. Also had an opportunity to go skydiving as well. That was an interesting experience. That was interesting. Let me tell you, we get there, right? And I guess it's maybe a 2-hour wait. You know, so we're sitting there, and I get there, I'm cool. I'm like, all right, you know, I'm go ahead and skydive and just check it off my bucket list, right? So we wait 2 hours, and then we, you know, get our harnesses on, and we go out to the plane, get in the plane, no big deal, get ready to knock it out. And so we get on the plane, and I guess about maybe 6 people on the plane jumping, and most of them were tandem. So the first time you go, you can only go tandem. I won't say you can only go tandem, but unless you've done some type of ground training or certification, you have to jump with somebody else, you know, basically attached to your back. So the 5 or 6 jumpers, and then there's one guy who's working on his certification, so he's jumping by himself. So I'm good up until about halfway up. And then you look out the window and you're like, man, okay, this is really unnecessary. This was really unnecessary. I'm about to jump out of a plane. So like the gravity of the whole situation like really started to hit me. And I got some footage I'm gonna release too, so make sure you keep an eye out on the blog and the Facebook page, because I actually did some video of it. But the guy who was jumping by himself, he went first. And I'm looking out the window, I'm like, man, this is high. I'm getting ready, so you know, my guy who's on back of me, he's tightening everything up. And I look in this guy's eyes who's about to jump in front of me by himself, and his eyes just told me, like, you know what I'm saying, like, yo, I'm about to do something crazy. And so I'm like, man, look, this guy's jumping by himself. If he's looking like that, you know, this is serious. So anyway, he jumps out the plane, man. I go next. And I'm just like, I looked over the edge, man, and I'm just like, wow. You know, when the guy, they don't give you that much instructions. That's another thing. They don't give you that much direction. At least the guy I went with did. So he told me, you know, arch your back, you know, kind of fall like a leaf, you know, kind of arched, if that makes sense at all, but kind of fall like a leaf. So, you know, kick your legs back, you know, put your head up, and you know, kind of arch your back. So we look, man, at this point, the only thing to do is jump, man. So I jumped out the plane. For the first 2 or 3 seconds, you can't breathe because, you know, you're just falling, free falling. So all this air is kind of blowing in your face. So I remember he told me, he said, you know, just relax. And so, you know, I relaxed. And then I guess after about 5 or 7 seconds, which is it's like 5 minutes when you're falling out of the sky. But I guess maybe like 5 or 7 seconds, I started to kind of get the hang of it. And I'm like, all right. And I got this camera guy. You know, he's trying to get footage, trying to give me high fives, and I'm like, hold, back up for a little bit until I get control of this thing, man, until I get a handle on this whole situation. I'm dropping out the sky here. So anyway, I guess after about 10 seconds, kind of got the hang of it. I guess all in all, you're dropping out the sky maybe 60 seconds before they pull the parachute. And I tell you, man, right after I land, I'm ready to go again. It was a crazy experience, man. I recommend everybody do it at least once, because it's gonna give you a different perspective on life. Because at that point, I mean, you're basically looking death in the face. You're taking your life into your own hands. I mean, literally, because you figure anything can happen. And so it really gave me a different perspective on life, man. And so, you know, I recommend everybody do it. It's not for everybody, but I still recommend everybody do it. So that's that. Another cool thing, I went to go check out the new Will Smith flick called After Earth. Yo, if you haven't seen that movie, you got to check it out, man. Especially if you listen to this podcast. I think if you listen to this podcast, you're probably going to be a fan of the movie. And I know the critics have been killing it. Critics have been beating it up. I think that's a conspiracy. I haven't figured out the reason why, but I think it's a conspiracy, man. But the movie is excellent. It's all about overcoming fear. And without giving away too much of the movie, the basic premise of the movie is that the more you run away from fear and those things that you're afraid of in life, the more that they hunt you down. The more that they chase you around, the more you know, they just torment you. But the moment you stop running and you stand up, they disappear. They disappear. And I think that's really, you know, how life is. You know, a lot of times we imagine things, like they always say, fear is false evidence appearing real. It's like once you question the evidence, you know, for the fear, it's like, you know, a lot of times it goes away. And even like the worst case scenario that you can ever think of, in most cases, if you actually have to go through that worst case scenario, it's not as bad as what you picture it to be. You know? So that was one thing that I picked up from that movie, man. But real powerful movie. And it's like Will and Jaden in like 95% of the movie. You know, so it's not a you know, a whole lot of interaction with other people. It's just him going through these different experiences, man. But incredible movie. Definitely strongly recommend it. Check it out. Called After Earth. Gotta get Will Smith on for an interview since I'm doing a promo of this movie. What I wanted to talk to you guys today about is being that this is the 1-year anniversary of the show, man. And I really started the show out of it was an idea that I had for years, man. And you know, just kind of speaking of fear, it's just like one of those things like, all right, if you put it out there, it's going to work. What are people going to think? You know, are people going to understand what you're talking about? You know, you open yourself up to criticism. I went ahead and, you know, just push forward with it, man. It's been doing tremendous, man. Got, you know, working close to 10,000 downloads in the last 12 months. Over 20,000 views on the YouTube page. So check out the YouTube page if you haven't already. Dream Chaser Show, all one word, Dream Chaser Show. Facebook fan page, got something like 800 fans on there. So always posting motivational stuff and inspiration, you know, to keep everybody going on the grind. But the one thing that I think I've learned from just doing this for the last 12 months, and it's something I already knew, but it actually became more real to me as I was doing the show. It's like when you start out with doing something, whatever it is, when you on your grind, when you on your dream chase, if you will, when you start out in the beginning, you really have to have confidence in yourself, even when there's not a good reason to have any confidence. I heard that from 50 Cent in an interview he did about the 50th law a while back. He said confidence is when you can have confidence in yourself when there's not even a good reason to have it. And I think whatever venture you start out in, initially you have to believe it in your heart, you know, more than anybody else. And you can't, you know, you might run it by a couple people. They may tell you, you know, it's a bad idea, or I don't really dig it. You know, you may put a Facebook fan page up there. Nobody's really feeling it. Nobody's really giving you likes. Nobody's signing up. And you really have to be strong enough to go through all that, to ignore all that. Because you got to understand, man, people aren't going to ride with you in the beginning. No matter how great your idea is, you know, until you really blow up, people are, you know, they got their own problems and issues and things that they're dealing with, man. Nobody has time to be your cheerleader. And you got to be your own cheerleader, you know, on this road to success. But what I found is, as you continue to move along your road, or move along your path, it's like a snowball effect. As long as you don't give up, and as long as you put everything into it that you have, what you're looking for starts to grow more and more over time. And you see, you might recognize this is why a lot of millionaires, and you know, they can lose millions, go bankrupt, come back again, go bankrupt again, come back again, because they know as long as they have a great idea and they believe in it, that eventually whatever they're working towards is going to blow. They can go through that tipping point. They can go to that breaking point where most people would forgive, or most people would give up. They can keep going. They can keep going to that tipping point. You know, when all the money's gone, when nobody's returning your call on the idea, when, you know, everything is bleak, they can keep going because they understand that if you can keep going at that point where you're supposed to give up, where the average person could give up, if you just go one more day, one more week, one more month, one more year, eventually things turn in your favor. It's when you give up that things get bad. Things get scary. And so you can never take your eye off the ball. And I think that's the secret that a lot of people that really make big breakthroughs to success have. They know if you just don't give up, and you always hear it, don't give up, don't give up. But it's like your mind is going to talk to you and say, okay, you know what, this isn't a great idea anymore. There's no more money in the bank. You know, the house is in foreclosure. You know, all these things. And that's the point at where most people are going to stop and say, you know what, I need to be more reasonable. But when you're on the road to success, there is no reasonable. Everything about it is unreasonable. Otherwise, everybody be successful. You know, nobody be working a 9 to 5. Everybody be working their own, you know, multi-million-dollar business. You know, because life is tricky. think you can get anything you want in life as long as you're willing to go to that breaking point that I was talking about. It's like case in point. I remember when I first started off in banking, first job in sales. Hadn't sold anything a day in my life. And they pretty much gave me a computer and a phone and told me to make it happen. You know, and here I go. I'm making calls. I don't even know how to make a call. And went about the first 9 months. After about 6 months, I was starting to get managed out. You know, my manager was leaning on me. You know, he's getting ready to start the write-up process. But I never stopped making those phone calls. I never stopped, you know, asking people for advice, asking people for mentorship. Kept going. Got a little discouraged. I'm not going to front. Got a little discouraged. But, you know, just kept going. And then out of nowhere, I jumped to the top quarter of all salespeople in the company. So here I go. I go from nothing to going to the top 20% in the entire company. And it was all just a matter of really just never giving up, never looking at the negative feedback that life was giving me. And you gotta have that kind of mental fortitude because it's not easy, right? We always want to get fooled into looking or believing in what our eyes are telling us. You see, because winners and losers see the same exact things. You know, winners just see the obstacles totally different. The loser sees something and they decide not to go forward because the obstacle's there. The winner sees that is a qualifying reason to do it. You know, they thrive on the challenge. I don't know. I used to ride BMX bikes when I was little, and you know, you used to make the ramps, you know, jump the ramps, and you always had that one friend that would jump the highest ramp and not get scared about flipping over on the end of the ramp. You got to be the kid who likes to jump the big ramps. You know, you got to see everything as an opportunity to learn for the next go around. Maybe you don't win this time, but it's a learning opportunity for the next go around. And you just got to decide that you're going to dedicate your life to the process. You know, every failure quickens your learning curve for the next problem. I tell you what, you want to get rich fast? The quickest way to get rich is to get good at solving problems. It's the quickest way to get rich. And I'll tell you, the best way to get good at solving problems is to get a whole lot of them. Get big ones. Because before you have a breakthrough, you have to have a breakdown. You know, before you have a breakthrough, something has to go wrong. You know, ultimately, you know, that breakdown could be something big. It may be bankruptcy. It may be living off your credit cards for a year until things finally turn around. But at the end of the day, you got to allow yourself to go places where other people won't normally go, because that's where all the gold is. You got to be Thomas Edison. You got to be Henry Ford. You got to be Albert Einstein. You got to be Malcolm X. You got to be Martin Luther King. And you got to say something and then stay with it until it shows up. And this is why these guys have legacy. You know, they go to places where people before them haven't gone. So I encourage you to do the same thing. That's all my time for the day. Hopefully you learned something new or remember something you forgot. Either way, my job is done. Don't forget to check out the blog, dreamchasershow.com. Don't forget to like us on Facebook at Dream Chaser Show. Until the next time we talk, live big, dream big. Peace.